tax increases. The first tax I want to discuss in this discussion is the stealth tax. We all saw the news this morning that we've hit yet another record, 9.1% inflation. Today's new data shows the consumer price index remaining at a painful 40-year high, jumping to 9.1% for June from 8.6% in May, which was a record in May. And this chart basically shows that. There's a couple of points I want to make about this chart. When President Biden took office, the inflation rate was 1.7%, or the CPI, I think it was 1.7%. Look where it's, and for the 4 years previous to that, it was in that zone. Look where it's gone now. And the president continues to try to give reasons for this, even using Russia. But the little data on the right there shows that the Russian invasion took place at around 7 or 8%. And it's been going up since. Economic conditions generally for Americans have deteriorated significantly. Inflation-adjusted wages of workers are falling. Consumer and business confidence has cratered. Nest eggs of retirees and workers are eroding from a double whammy of inflation and lower retirement account values. And the odds of recession have been rising, and stagflation is an imminent threat. Nonetheless, in the face of all of this, the Democrats want to raise taxes, including on the middle class, as we will show in a minute, and taxpayers earning far less than $400,000. The Biden administration proposed $2.5 trillion in tax hikes in its Green Book. Last year's House-passed Build Back Better Act was more than $1.5 trillion of new taxes. Now, my Senate colleagues are talking about a so-called slimmed-down package of tax hikes in the realm of $1 to $1.5 trillion. There is nothing slim about these tax hikes. Tax increases would make inflation worse by further suppressing the supply side of the economy, including by depressing investment and productivity growth, as well as labor supply when the labor force participation remains below pre-pandemic levels. At a time when families are already paying an extra $5,200 per year or more for inflation, the Democrats' tax proposals would raise the cost of goods even further. One of the tax increases being considered in the resurrected Build Back Better bill is an expanded net investment income tax, or NIIT, the so-called, keep that up here for just, oh, no, yeah, I want this chart. The NIIT, known as the tax on flow-through businesses, which are businesses whose owners' incomes flow through to their personal tax forms. Small business groups estimate to be up to millions of small and family-owned businesses would be at risk of having their rates increased under this policy, which will negatively impact their growth. An expanded NIT will drive down small business investment, drive down employment, and reduce small business hiring, lower wages in small business communities, and increase prices, which are then passed on to consumers. Hitting those businesses with a massive new tax hike on the order of $252 billion will hurt the very people the Democrats say they champion, workers and those with incomes well below $400,000. Small businesses are struggling in the Biden economy. It's not time to levy a $252 billion new tax, especially on small and medium-sized businesses trying to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, the massive inflation, and worker shortages. In addition, now let's go to the next chart. A new analysis from the Joint Tax Committee confirms that Democrats' new reported proposals will increase taxes on all Americans. This chart, if you can't read it, goes from 0 or 10,000 and below up to 200,000 in different income cohorts used by the IRS. And it shows that every single income cohort will get a tax increase. Over the course of the 10-year budget, the JCT says that roughly 30% of the revenue raised for spending offsets and deficit reduction will come from Americans earning under $400,000 per year. Under the proposal, the average tax rate for every single income category would increase. If the Democrats' tax reform is enacted this year, more than a quarter of Americans earning between $75,000 and $100,000 will see a tax increase next year, as will more than half of Americans earning between $100,000 and $200,000. As the economy faces runaway inflation, a first quarter decline in GDP, and increasing and uncomfortable odds of a recession and stagflation, raising taxes and killing jobs as we face prospects of recession makes no sense. Senator Grassley?
Thank you.